All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Crypto Scoop FM. And I'm recording this video today extremely excited because Bitcoin just broke a key trend line, which was holding back the price for the last couple of days, I guess. And now it's past it. It's now kind of hovering around 109k, 110k levels. And I think it's if it holds well all the way through the weekend, all the way till Monday, then we're gonna definitely see Bitcoin make a new all-time high. So this gives me a lot of confidence that we are now literally on the brink of an alt cycle. I know a lot of people have now become disbelievers of an alt cycle, right? Hey, alt cycle and never gonna come back. All that is history. Market has changed, institutions have come in, but my thinking is the more people talk about something not happening, the more is the probability of it happening. And I remember reading Hasib, who's a GP at I forgot his venture fund at Dragonfly, if I'm not wrong, at Dragonfly. He actually made this tweet a few days back. But also, like, even if you think about it logically, it's not like all season is not happening, right? It's just the bags that we are holding aren't pumping because we saw rallies happen in AI agents. We've seen rally happen in like sub segments of the industry, like perp dexes, hype. Look at hype, RWAs. Look at syrup. So there are still over 2 dozen coins which have outperformed BTC in a so-called not an alt season. But I understand what they say when they say, there's no all season. There will never be an all season. I understand that, and that's your choice. It's okay if you believe that there is no all season. But I think an all season is coming. It's going to be more powerful than before. It's going to be more exciting than before. But obviously, every alt season happened and pumped, few specific subsectors within crypto. So, which is that subsector that is going to pump and go crazy and ballistic in 2025? And guys, my money is on memes, and I'm going to tell you exactly why I think 2025 is all about going to be all about memes. 2025 and 26, and we're going to see like crazy face melting rallies happen in the world of meme coins in 2025. I'm going to give you the evidence, I'm going to give you an insight, and I'm going to leave you with some alpha that we will explore further in an upcoming episode. All right. So if you're new here, guys, I'm Rohit. I've been working in crypto for the last 4 years. I've held multiple exec roles with companies like Polygon Labs, Socket Technologies, and Long Hash Ventures, which has given me a front row seat to all the innovation that has happened in the industry. I do these videos to educate you, to give you an insight into how I think about the markets, and I must add a quick disclaimer that nothing that I say here is financial advice, legal advice, or life advice. So if you're going to make a financial decision like buying a token based on what I say, then it's all on you, because these tokens are extremely risky and everything could go to zero and the industry could crash and burn. So remember that. All right, let's jump in. Let's talk about today's special show. Okay, guys, so I first want to quickly start off with the chart of BTC. As I said, there was this key trend line which was kind of going downwards all the way from the 23rd of May, which is when Bitcoin touched I think 112,000, if I'm not wrong. And since then, you can see there was a perpetual decline that was happening. There was, earlier this month, there were the war fears, then other things happened. And since then, the market has, slowly started to recover. And just yesterday, 2 days back, it crossed that barrier. And now it is now in this territory, which is above the trend line. And my thesis is, if it holds this line, this new level, new area, for at least until the end of this week, then we're going to see a new all-time high. right? And because there's going to be more confidence for the markets to kind of start betting, go long on BTC, and we will then see where and how BTC really goes. But today's video is not about BTC. But I just wanted to give you that, this is great positive news because everything else is at its all-time high, from, the S&P 500 to NASDAQ to Dow Jones Industrial Average, and, all the other indices. And you have now Bitcoin kind of squarely following suit. Now, the next thing that I wanted to show you was the sector performance in the last 7 days. And you can clearly see that memes have pretty much outperformed every other sector in the last 7 days. Like memes collectively in the last 7 days has delivered a return of 15%, followed closely by gaming, which everybody has written off for some weird reason, and DeFi at number 3. So today I'm going to talk about why I think memes are interesting and why I think really that memes are going to be the most outperforming asset class subcategory of crypto in 2025 alt cycle, right? So, but let's first just understand the path to alt season. I think there is a little change because the only reason we need to look at this is to understand the flow of money, right? We need to understand how money flows, where money is today and where it is going. Historically, in all of the previous alt seasons, what we've seen is money first flowing into Bitcoin, right? And then there is kind of this overlap where money starts flowing into Ethereum, but Ethereum kind of struggles to keep up with the price appreciation of Bitcoin, right? Ethereum kind of goes back and forth with Bitcoin and then eventually starts outperforming Bitcoin, which is the moment of flipping, right? ETH dominance, BTC dominance declining and ETH dominance increasing. At this point, you will see people getting even more greedier, ready to take even more risk, and the money flows from Ethereum to large caps. This would, up until now, were like in the previous cycle, we saw money move into alt L1s and also the top alts within the ecosystem of a given chain. So, we saw Aave pumping, we saw Maker pumping, we saw Uniswap pumping, we also saw, Solana pumping, or other coins, other OG coins of XRP and others in that generation kind of pumping. From large caps, right, the money then kind of moves into the alt season. Now, this could be your mid caps, your low caps, your micro caps, and you will see like these coins, like some of these coins will just start going parabolic, regardless of what their tokenomics looks like, regardless of how mature they are, whether they have any fundamentals, they make money. Nobody gives a damn. Right. So this is how traditionally an alt season was. But here's a big difference that is happening this time around, which is why I think there is even greater liquidity that is going to come in. And that is because now we have two major plays that are happening, right? The first is crypto stocks. Because now we have these crypto stocks either in the form of tokenized equity or in the form of, companies listed on the Wall Street in real exchanges outside who are buying crypto, also known as crypto treasury companies. So this would be the micro strategies of the world. The more there is demand for their stock, the greater is the demand for the underlying token. And there is like this institutional money that will start flowing into crypto. Right? Earlier, it wasn't the case because earlier the entire demand for Bitcoin pretty much came from, retail or like really large whales who were in crypto. But now you have Wall Street money coming in. And it should be very clear to you guys that Wall Street money is like order of magnitudes larger than the money that retail holds. Now, from this, money is actually going to move into ETH and other alt L1s, Solana, Sui, say, pick your favorites, doesn't matter. From there, it will kind of flow into the top alts of each chain. This would be the top DEXs, the top DeFi, the top memes, other categories. And then it will start moving into like risky alts. This would be like 50 to 100 million, 200 million FDV projects, right? So, take your picks. And finally, it's going to kind of move into memes, right? That's how it's going to happen. Now, if we go back into 2021 and look at the first cycle, if you remember what happened to crypto in 2021. So if I just pull up the chart for Ethereum, for Bitcoin, you saw in 2021, right? I'm sorry, let me just zoom out a little bit for a little more and go for a monthly view here, right? Yeah. So this was 2020 and 21, right? This was all 2021 when we saw Bitcoin kind of go parabolic all the way from like 10K to, 60K, 68K at the top before losing a lot of value when, FTX got bust and other things happened, whatever. So this was the run. That was the 2021 run. And we saw Bitcoin kind of going from 10K in October of 20 to 68K in December, right? December or October, whatever, what was November 21. So how much is that? That's 522%. Impressive, right? Impressive, of course, impressive. Not just impressive, incredible. But what happened to the top memes that launched in that duration? So if we look at the top memes, now the first one that I want to show you is DOGE, which kind of went from, a sub, what was it trading at, like $500 million? From $500 million, it went all the way to what? At its peak, close to like $90 billion or $85 billion, right? So let's try and see the chart from here and we go monthly. So it's crazy, guys. It's crazy how much it moved. Right, so let's look at the price performance. So it went from nothing to what, like 30,000% upside. Then let's look at Shiba Inu, which was another one. This is again a 2021 runner, which went from like almost nothing to like $40 billion, right, in 2021. So this is like absolutely crazy, like almost like 60 to 80 times greater performance versus Bitcoin. And only plausible because when people start pumping capital and they get greedy, they get into that greed zone, they don't care, guys. They just want to make the big money, and this is where they want to this is how they made their big money. Now I'm going to share something which I think is extremely interesting, which was published by Murad, where he spoke about, his thesis is that each in every, previous altcoin cycles, there were a few core narratives that actually dominated this outperformance over Bitcoin. Right. So which was that in 2016 and 17, this was Ethereum, the altcoins and all of these ICOs that were happening. In the 2020-2021 rally, this was, if you remember, DeFi had come up. You had like, DeFi kind of going parabolic. You had GameFi, projects like Axie Infinity and others coming in and kind of going parabolic. You had Alt L1s, of course. You had Solana and Avalanche joining the party. Then you had NFTs. You had the Bored Apes and CryptoPunks, which kind of just went berserk. And of course, the metaverse, the good old metaverse, Decentraland and Mana and, those kind of coins like Sandbox and stuff, which pretty much kind of went crazy at this point in time. And now his prediction is that in 2024-25, we've already seen a little bit of it, which is basically memes, AI, and real-world assets. Real-world assets because we can already see stablecoins, which is part of this real-world asset narrative, absolutely going crazy. And if you don't believe me, just go check out the Circle stock. Right? AI, guys. Just look at virtuals. Look at how these AI agent coins have performed. Right, all of this happened in 24. In fact, the entire 2024 rally that we saw that happened the later part of last year was all driven by virtuals. You had AI16Z and you had many other runners that came, and then you had like a bunch of different memes that I want to show from that time frame. Like the first one, there's PEPE. PEPE went from like 300 mil to like $9.9 billion in 2024. Look at BONK, guys. Look at BONK. BONK BONK went from like 15 million to like $4 billion in 2024. Look at VIF. VIF went from like almost a nothing burger to guys like $5 billion, almost $4.5 $5 billion in 2024. Then you had Floki. Floki went from almost like nothing to like $3 billion in 2024. Trump actually came, earlier this year. This just went parabolic too, earlier this year. So one thing that has happened is that the money, as he's predicting, as Murad is predicting, essentially just is now squarely moving into memes. And then he says that if you look at famous assets that went ballistic in each respective bull run, you will notice that there was a pattern. There was a pre-pump in the pre-final year of the bull run, followed by a mega pump in the final year of the bull run. Right? So he's saying there was a pre-pump in the pre-final year, and then there was a mega pump in the final year of the bull run. And let's take an example, right? Let's take a look at some of the coins. So let's look at ETH. He gives an example of ETH. So there was this test pump, then there was this mega pump, right? In early 2017, and then there was a late pump. Same thing happened with XVG. There was this test pump in 2016. There was this mega pump where the price literally just went berserk, and then there was this late pump. Let's look at Cardano ADA. There was a test pump in 2020. There was this huge mega rally in 2021, and a little bit of a late pump as well. Look at crypto pump, guys. There was a pre-pump, right? There was a higher pump, and then there was the mega pump of late 2021, right? So it's clear that there is this pattern, and his point is that there was this chart which was published by Cetres in 2024, August 2024. Where the entire market was red, but the only two things that outperformed the market was PEPE, which delivered a 509% return, and VIF, which delivered a 734% year-to-date return from 1st of January. And his point was that, what if this was merely the pre-pump of VIF? Basically, he's saying this price performance that happened on VIF. Let me see if I have VIF open. I do. So he was saying this price performance of VIF that happened was actually where the first crypto pump pre-pump, right? So he's saying this is what the test pump was. Now we're going to see this big rally, and then we're going to see another final leg up. So this is the thesis. I think this makes this is a compelling case, guys. And I just want to also end this conversation by pretty much going through something which is extremely interesting that you would probably find cool, which is I have shortlisted a bunch of memes across four main categories in the way that I see these memes distributed in the market. So you have these blue chip, which includes DOGE, SHIBA, and PEPE. Then you have, there are like these big meme coins in each chain. They are essentially like, they represent the culture of that blockchain. Then you have some of the big runners of 2024, which Murad classifies in the pre-pump zone. And finally, you have Degen memes pro. I've identified, kind of broken them down according to, quote unquote potential upside. Low risk from 5 to 15x to literally sell my kidney levels. Please don't take this seriously. I'm just kidding. But essentially, where we can make like crazy Degen returns of 100 to 1000x. So this is all I wanted to tell you. I'm going to lay down my broad thesis around memes. I think we're at an interesting juncture about in the market where we can start looking into it. I'll talk more about this. I will reveal the percentage of allocation, across these different categories based on what kind of risk framework I want to, I want myself to be exposed to, and then I will reveal their names and go deep into it tomorrow. And tomorrow, by the way, guys, I'm going to have a special guest who's been looking into the meme ecosystem for the longest time. He's a very good friend of mine, and I think you will enjoy what he has to say. With that, I would like to wrap up today's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I loved recording it. I think memes are going to do extremely well. And I'm going to see you again tomorrow. Until then, sayonara, sleep well, and take care. Bye-bye.